Welcome everybody to episode 20 of the Making the Most of Now podcast. Who would believe I'd get to 20 episodes? I think I've said that in every episode so far. This one's a bit different now. This time I don't have just one amazing guest. I don't have two amazing guests. I have three incredible guests coming to me all the way from Conshohocken in Pennsylvania, so near Philadelphia, the home of the GBS CIDP Foundation International. We have with us this morning for me, this late afternoon for my guests. In no particular order, we've got Maddy Miller, Meg Maines, and Kaitlyn, who are all part of the dream team at the foundation. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us. That's quite an introduction.
It is.
I know. It doesn't get much better than that.
What kind of challenge? What madman am I? I was saying to everybody before we started the recording that I'm day after IVIG, so probably on about 50% battery power for my brain. My voice may break at any moment because it has a tendency to do that after IVIG. So if I go completely croaky and useless, at least with three of you, you can keep the conversation going. I thought the focus of today's conversation is all about MMN Awareness Month, and I've left it ridiculously late to record a podcast about MMN Awareness Month because it's happening starting in 2 days' time on the 1st of Feb. So I've got to pull my finger out when it comes to editing and publishing, but nothing like a deadline to get things done. So we'll do very, very, very quick introductions. And broadly, if you can just tell me and the audience what it is you do and whether the job title, don't necessarily tell us what you do rather than necessarily the job title, because sometimes the two don't make sense to me. So why don't we start with Kaitlyn?
Oh, sure. So I work at the foundation in the fundraising and development department. I assist Maddy, but I also I focus mostly on individual donors and fundraisers like Miles for MMN and these awareness months.
Awesome. Thank you. So if somebody out there donates to the foundation, the person they may well hear back from, have connections with, is you, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Awesome. There's a whole podcast in its own right about how all that works. You mentioned Maddy, so let's go straight to Maddy.
All right. I am Maddy, and I'm our Director of Development, which means that I work with our corporate sponsors, our individual donors, our third-party fundraisers, the WALK program, and pretty much any revenue that's generated for the foundation comes out of my team. But Clive, as you were talking, I looked up when I got my first email from you, and that was September 2021, because when you're like, I'm on my 20th podcast interview and I never thought we'd get there, I kind of had a moment of like, I remember when you were just an email in my inbox and I didn't think we'd get here.
And what a can of worms you opened when you replied.
I know. Too bad that didn't go to spam. No, I'm kidding.
Certainly.
What a great...
Look, you know, you've let the genie out of the bottle and the genie's got a bit rogue.
Well, what a great journey it has been.
It certainly has. So I'm very grateful for the fact that you didn't just put it in the trash can, as you might say. And lastly, so we've got two of the money people. So and genuinely, and it's a good way of saying actually something, Maddy, which is one of the amazing things about the foundation is that if you do reach out to an individual, they will get back to you. Particularly if you want money, you've got money, sorry. But no, in all seriousness, as illustrated by the fact that Maddy replied to me 4 years ago, is that? Yeah, well, 3.5.
Yeah. Yes, September
Well,
2021. Yeah, and I mean, it's always about the patient. And I think I don't want to steal Meg's intro, but I think Meg's time at the foundation kind of really has stretched so many different parts of the foundation, and kind of just shows how patient focused we are.
well, what better segues you want? Come on, Meg.
I know. Thank you, Maddie.
Yeah.
So as Maddie said, I am Meg. I am the marketing project manager. So what that really means is that I handle all of our communication. So that includes emails, that includes social media. So if you're tagging the foundation, if you are commenting on social posts, it's typically me who's answering. So face behind the social media. And and then also just any other little marketing projects. For instance, being a part of MMN Awareness Month has been huge. So yeah, just all things marketing.
Wonderful, wonderful. But sadly, couldn't be convinced to put on the ultimate marketing for MMN
I
awareness.
could not. I know, I know. Well, we did last week. All the staff wore some orange, asked me about MMN shirts, and we took some photos together just for some promotion. So I just am gearing up for wearing it every day in February, I guess.
It's interesting though, isn't it? How for some charities, and you're going to learn in if you well, you know me well enough to know that I can go off on random tangents. So I'm about to go off on one, which is it's really interesting how some causes have connected to a color, right? So often cancer is pink and prostate stuff has been purple, and I think finding a color that enables you to do crazy things like wear orange for a particular day, so that you can stand out, even if even if it's not your Ask About MMN t-shirt, it's something. Um, it can be quite a powerful thing from a marketing perspective. So um, it's interesting to see how over the last few years this has become a thing. So maybe next year it is wear orange for um, MMN Awareness Month. Don't know, just chucking it out there.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of MMN Awareness Month this February is, just raising awareness by wearing our t-shirts. So visiting our bonfire site to get some MMN apparel, which you will find the orange t-shirts on there as well. So this is definitely a part of our Awareness Month this month is taking a photo, posting on social media, tagging the foundation, and then we can share on our end. And then you're also sharing with your friends on social media. So definitely pushing for that.
Really, I'd never have guessed. I think but that's the point, right? So if we get to the heart of what is the month about, for me, with a lot of all these things, for me, it's awareness raising, whether it's general public, it's amongst the medical fraternity, always incredibly important for a rare condition like MMN. It would be connecting people in the community. So, you know, not traveling the journey alone, so to speak, but knowing because it can be lonely for people, and suddenly you realize, oh, there's another person in that weird orange t-shirt over there. Ah, um, I can talk to them, and then obviously there's a fundraising piece as well for research. But to me, those are the cornerstone bits. Would you agree? Or
Yeah, I think so. And just continuing, to raise awareness of MMN and, talk about the diagnosis journey is such a big one too. But it's been great to see. I think will this be our, Meg, you probably know, our fourth MMN Awareness Month?
Yes. And every year I feel like we're growing more and more, which is obviously the point and it's great. But it's just, it's wild to see where we were the first year and where we are now. So
Yeah, we've been meeting with like a lot of our pharmaceutical partners to kind of go over what we've done in 2024. And I forget the exact percentage, but we saw like a 20% growth in our MMN patient community from 2023 to into 2024. I mean, it is an ultra rare condition. So it was really exciting to see such growth. And I think that's a lot because of MMN Awareness Month, our MMN coffee chats, Miles for MMN, Ride the World, and then Clive, everything that you're doing too.
Yeah, it's interesting actually, because I saw on the website is showing 500 MMN patients in the database, and I have two reactions to that. One is, well, that means based on my estimates, there's about 39,500 people out there that we need to reach. So yeah, but pat ourselves on the back because we've come a long way, I think. So it's well done, but there's a long way to go, which is kind of exciting.
I remember when we first started, Meg and I started a day apart, but I think that number was in like the 180s when we first started 6 years ago.
Yeah, so. And I was having a chat with Rich Collins, who's chief exec at Gain in the UK earlier this week, and I had seen in Facebook that an MMN patient support kind of Facebook group had been established, I think it was Monday this week, by somebody we both know, and I shared this with him, and suddenly there's about 50 people already on that group.
That's incredible. That's great.
You know, I think it's events like this, and I have had the conversation with as it was with Rich. Actually said, gosh, it's hard when it's a whole month because there's a lot of planning involved for a whole month. You know, an awareness day, you can focus. An awareness week, you can fill that, but it's quite hard to fill a whole month. But I actually think when you're small, as MMN is, in terms of impact, you know, or not impact, but in terms of awareness and the community, actually having a whole month to do a whole bunch of stuff just gives you that potential to build a bit of momentum, so that the people who infrequently interact with the foundation, infrequently interact with social media, have a chance to see stuff popping up. I think it's really cool. So without further ado then, so what's happening this month? And I know I should know more about this because I'm on the board of the foundation. Big disclaimer there. Obviously, going to think everybody does amazing work. But I was saying earlier before we started, this is the first time I've been less involved. I've got a lot of stuff going on with the tour at MMN, and I guess it's a reflection of the success of the last few years. There's a whole bunch of people. MMN Awareness Month, I think we were meeting, because it was my big first bike ride, we were meeting every week.
Yeah. And it was just you and the staff. Yeah.
And Brenda was doing some stuff.
Oh yeah, Brenda.
And then, you know, last year there were regular catch-ups with a number of us. And this year you haven't needed me, which is fantastic because it means it's part of that growth story. So what's happening? Tell me what's happening. What should I get involved in?
Yeah, so I'm happy to chat a little bit about what we're doing. And I know Kaitlyn wants to chat about Miles for MMN too, but ultimately we need people to raise awareness. So that could be several different things. As I talked about before, social media, posting on social media, share your story on social media. Or if you want, you could submit your story to us and then we'll share it on our social media. So that is one way you can raise awareness. Another way is raising awareness in your local community. So whether that's sharing educational materials at a local coffee shop or cafe, and people will stop and ask about MMN, especially if you're wearing your orange t-shirts as well that specifically say, ask me about MMN. But that is just another way that you could raise awareness. So another item that we have for this month is our virtual events. So we have several coffee chats as well as a speaker series webinar. So one of the coffee chats we have, which is the first week, is Life Hacks with MMN. So basically what that is going to be about is just bringing a challenge that you faced as an MMN patient and how you overcame that. So the goal is to really connect our patients to each other, and maybe someone's suffering with an issue that you had, and then you had a life hack for that. So that is going to be on Thursday, February 6th. We also have a chair yoga for MMN patients on Monday, February 10th. And this is a way for patients to obviously get a little exercise, but also if they are participating in Miles for MMN, a way for them to count their miles or minutes, depending on what they're doing. And as I said, Kaitlyn will talk a little bit more about that. We have another coffee chat called Mastering Doctor Visits as an MMN patient. We have a host, Rebecca Stein, and she's going to just offer some advice that she does to prepare for doctor's visits, how she handles doctor visits when she's actually speaking to the doctor or the nurse, and then also some things that she does to decompress after doctor visits. So that will be a great, yeah, which I mean, they can be very stressful. So in speaking with her a couple weeks ago, she had really great advice. So I think this will be a great coffee chat to join. So if you haven't registered, please do so.
So
And
is that how to not strangle the doctor that won't listen to you?
yes. Yes.
Because
And
that
I don't want to,
can be the
sorry.
reality, right? Sometimes.
Yeah, and I don't want to give away some of her hacks just yet for Mastering Doctor Visits, so you'll have to register and join. So I don't want to say any more about that.
You're such a tease. Come on.
I know, I know. And then lastly, we have a speaker series webinar, which that is going to be MMN patients, as well as some doctors in our community as well. It's going to be more of like a patient panel discussion. So more information coming out about that in the next week or so, but that is on Tuesday, February 25th. So lots happening. I know. I know. Hopefully
there's a lot there.
Yeah, hopefully people won't be tired of seeing us, but it's kind of a good leeway into what is happening for Miles for MMN.
Well, before Kaitlyn dives into telling us a bit about that, there's a couple of things. I think, so first thing foremost, the place to go to register for these events is the foundation website, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Foundation website. We actually just today, we put a little blurb on our front of our homepage talking about MMN Awareness Month and where to go to register for events. So if you just get to our homepage, you'll see it right there and it'll guide you to our Awareness Month page.
And they're all Eastern Standard Time, because we're talking about a global audience here. And
yes. Yep.
But if I can't make it in time because I'm somewhere else in the world or life just won't let me, are they recorded for people to look at later? And maybe, because again, you know, there's so much you can learn just from listening.
Right. So they are not recorded. However, a lot of our times for these events, we did different times to help out different countries. So we were very considerate on the time structure. And I was even, Googling what time is it in Italy or what time is it in Australia, really trying to make this international. So it really will help patients that are in Australia to be able to join our events. So it may not be every event, but we definitely took in consideration a lot of our times. But I do want to, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Just to say that the speaker series is recorded.
Yes.
Yes. And I think that's the benefit of it being a month, is that, you know, if you're not able to make one thing, there is several other things that if it was a day or a week, it might be a little more jam-packed.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and they're on a mix of days as well. I'm just looking at it now. So, and there are, I mean, this is a global thing now. So not just from the foundation's perspective, but I was also looking, if you're in Canada, the Canadian Foundation have got their own events.
Yes.
I know, having talked to Richard Gain, that they're planning some stuff. So it's also worth, wherever you are in the world, reaching out. The foundation has volunteers across the globe. And in some countries, there are also their own kind of support groups or organizations who may well be doing events and supporting this. So you're the kind of the tip of a big iceberg in some respects, what you're doing. There's a whole bunch of stuff happening elsewhere. And you talked about sharing stories. Now, sharing stories is an interesting one because it can be quite intimidating for some people. And so have you got any kind of tips or advice for anybody that thinks, actually, yeah, maybe, well, I wouldn't mind doing that, but I'm not sure where to start? And what do they do with it once, how best to capture the story, and what do you do when you've captured it to get it out there?
Yeah, so a couple things you can do. Obviously, you can reach out to any one of us at the foundation for more of like a one-on-one personal help. We're happy to read through your story before you're posting. But I guess my advice is just be true to yourself and share what you're comfortable sharing. Don't feel like you have to share every little detail. I think it's just important to just share what you feel comfortable doing. So, as I said before, you can share on your personal social media, or you can visit our patient story portal and submit about like a paragraph about your story, and we can post it on our social media as well as our website. So again, just be true to yourself, and we're here to help you and guide you in any way that you need. So don't feel like you can't reach out to us.
No, I think that's really important, and it can be intimidating, but it's equally, I find it's amazing how, because it's such a rare condition, because it's quite rare to meet anybody with the same condition, and because there's quite a lot of variability in how it affects people, the more stories out there that reflect that variation, in diagnosis journey, reflected in symptoms, reflect in response to treatment or not. I think the more we can tell the breadth and range of those stories, the more it helps, because there's somebody you go, oh, someone sees it and goes, hang on, that's kind of me, or I've experienced that. So I'd really encourage people. Most of us are hanging around with a mobile phone these days, and the modern technology is such that you can either video yourself, record yourself. If you're not, we've got a condition where a lot of people struggle with writing and typing. But of course, certainly recently, I've used even Word's dictation function is amazing. It corrects my dodgy English. It's brilliant. So I think once you're over that little hurdle, it's easier to capture these things now. The patient portal's there, great resource. You're always there to help. I'm certainly, if anybody wants to talk to me about it, I'm fairly free and easy with my story these days. It wasn't always like that.
Well, and the other important part too is the story of the caregiver too, or care partner. So that's just another patient or another group that, if they want to share their story, we love to hear it. And it's another group that needs connection in MMN Awareness Month and beyond.
Absolutely. Spot on. Friends, families, and I think, yeah, you couldn't have said it better, actually. I must admit, having reached episode 20, my biggest failure on this podcast is we haven't had a conversation with a loved one, if you like, whatever we want to talk it. So
Yeah.
I need to do that.
I know a great one that you could interview. Her name is Anne.
Interview. There might be far too many truths told.
I would definitely watch that.
Yes, me too.
I think the dynamic would shift though. It would be very clear who's in charge. I've got to maintain at least some semblance of being the head of my own household. I don't know about that. So let's move on then, Kaitlyn, to Miles for MMN. Tell us about Miles for MMN and how we can get involved.
Oh yeah. So Miles for MMN is the fundraising arm of the MMN Awareness Month, pioneered by Clive as predominantly a bike riding fundraiser for MMN research. Is now a little bit of a twist this year. We will be keeping track of kind of anything that you would like to do for MMN, any kind of movement that you would like to do, whether it be yoga or physical therapy or meditation. So anything like that, we encourage people to go to our website, sign up to be a part of, it's called Miles for MMN 2025. And start logging your minutes or your miles, and they'll all go towards a goal of, we have a goal of getting 50,000 miles this month for MMN. And then, of course, attached to that is also an opportunity to donate to the research grant for MMN. So if you want to create a team and have a bunch of members of your own community come together and bike or walk or run or swim, you can, but you can also ask your friends, family, coworkers to donate towards your challenge. You can set your own goal, and it's very cool. It's kind of like we have local walks in the United States. And so this kind of feels like an MMN virtual walk the entire month. You get to kind of create a community and join other folks from around the world.
Perfect. Sounds very cool. Like all of this, it's growing and it's fantastic to see it. It's pretty simple and painless to sign up. I've done it. We've got the whole of the Tour de MMN team are going to sign up. We're deliberately, I'll be honest, we're deliberately not doing much fundraising with this because we've got our big fundraiser in May, June, but we're certainly encouraging others to take up the challenge, raise money. I've had donations even though I haven't asked for them, which is pretty amazing.
Great.
There's a feature in the platform which is called One Cause that allows you, if you use apps like Strava to log activity, which many people do, you can set it up to automatically feed into One Cause, and it pops up and tells you how many miles you've done. And so that just kind of makes some of that administration a bit easier once you're signed up. Again, it's another place you can tell your story. You can link it to social media. And yeah, it's the idea of it's just an opportunity for communities to get together, to share stories. And that's fundamentally what this podcast is about. It's what, how we do our work, as a species, we learn by telling stories, right? That's how we connect. We're social animals. So this Miles for MMN is a perfect vehicle for that, for in-person meetups. And I know, it's really interesting again to see the growth of little in-person MMN meetups. I know they're happening in kind of LA, San Francisco area. They're happening in New York. we're going to have one. Okay, it's not this month, it'll be in March at the cycling show in the UK. I actually kind of want to better the record of the number of people, MMN people in a room, which I think was last year's symposium. The last symposium, I think we were getting towards 20 people. So I want to try and beat that. But all these activities like Miles for MMN help with that. Questions on that? So MMN research grant, what we're raising money, we've raised just shy of about 200,000 for that so far, I think, over the years. What's happening with the money, and how does that translate into MMN research?
I can take this one for the group. So we do put a call out every year. Last year, we funded our first grant. It was a $50,000 grant to do PhD, MDs at Oxford. And we'll continue to put out another call this year. And then they're reviewed by our Global Medical Advisory Board and awarded based off of their merit. So we have a very formal process that it goes through from people who are far more intelligent than I on this area of expertise. But it is, I would imagine, very inspiring to the researcher, who are researching these small, rare conditions to get money that is generated from the patients themselves. And I know Chelsea always eloquently says that a lot of times, these grants, why they might be small in money compared to the cost that it takes for you to do, a full research project. It often can be seen as like seed money to then get further further grants from larger institutions. So, very meaningful for the researcher, and very meaningful that it's coming from patients and family members and caregivers, and the whole circle of support there.
And that study you mentioned, the University of Oxford, if I remember rightly, it's a 1-year study. So at some point this year that comes to an end, and then we learn about, what they've learned, I suppose.
Yeah, Chelsea does a great job. She's our director of research and advocacy on our website, of kind of doing a research report kind of after that funding time has come through. So I'm sure we will get an update from those doctors and kind of see what they say, and then continue to put the money out. But I know there is great awareness among those who are researching MMN about this grant out there. So that's really exciting too. And it's just great to see that it's all from the patients.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, people often ask, it's rightly or wrongly, so many people wonder when they donate to charitable organisations how much money is actually going to the cause versus how much is going to support an organisation. Although if you don't support the organisation, you can't do your work. So there's got to be a balance somewhere. But in this case, this is dedicated research money. Every single dollar goes to research money, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I love, and I'm sure Kaitlyn and Meg would agree with this, I love a well-educated nonprofit donor. Here in the States, we do have something called the Charity Navigator, which is a great website that rates charities, and we have been the top rating for the past 9 years. And it shows what percentage of our fundraising or what percentage of our money goes to operational support and stuff like that. But for this distinct fundraiser, all money raised from it goes directly to the MMN research grant.
Cool. And when you sign up as whether you're a donor, whether you're a participant in the Miles for MMN or something like that, you're kind of, and it just don't take this the wrong way, you don't leave people alone after that, do you? And in a good way. I mean,
no restraining orders have been taken out on us yet.
No, there is a follow-up in the sense that you whether you've donated, whether you've participated, you can obviously opt out of it, but there's a regular communication to keep you up to speed. So you're not just left. My father often, right? So I'll use him as the example because, he's in his 80s, and anything to do with technology within reason, he's he thinks it's out to get him somehow, unfortunately. And so he'll receive an email from a regular email because he's donated in the past. And he says, Clive, is this legitimate? What's that being asked of me now? And he just wants to double check. And I guess it's highlighted to me that you keep a conversation going with our donors, with our participants, well beyond. So you are joining when you participate, when you donate, you're joining part of this community. I don't think he's looking to restrain the emails, but it's just
Good.
because it's always, you've got to find that balance, haven't you, without bombarding people so it's spam. But I think my sense is that it's regular enough to know you haven't been forgotten, which is nice. It's regular enough to receive updates because people do want to know what's happened with my money.
Yep.
Yeah. So there is follow on, right?
Yeah, there is. And I don't want to get down too much into the weeds because this has been a very ongoing conversation at the foundation of donor engagement. But, you are supporting the organization and we have a lot of stuff going on. So it's great to kind of tell you about what other information is going on at the foundation. We've had last year in the ride some MMN patients that they signed up, and this is their first way of contacting the organization and getting involved, which is fantastic. But we formally invite you to join in some of our calls or come to our virtual summit or come to our in-person meetings. So I think our MMN activities for the MMN community is a nice gateway into the other activities that are happening at the foundation. And of course, there's always a do not contact me if you want to use it, but we hope you don't. And if you send any emails saying otherwise, you'll be responding. Either Meg, Kaitlyn, or I would be the ones responding.
I think the important thing is though that it's not a machine responding. There are real people, 3 of whom are here, who are actually responding, and so. And I was talking to Nancy, who's part of your team in the international side of things, and earlier this week, and we were just, she's trying to cover the globe, as you all are, and it's just like she's that passion, the passion that she has, which you all have, is reaching out and connecting, kind of almost. Is a 24/7 burden in some respects and has to be managed, but it is genuine. You won't just get an automated response. You might get a little automated response in some instances when there are annoying. I shouldn't say annoying. There are regular reminders from Maddy Miller when you sign up for Miles for MMN. In the first 7 days, I think, that automate and say, come on, have you done this? Have you done that? But behind that automation is a real person, and she's there to help. And I know that.
Who my husband would say is just as annoying with the reminders in person. Yeah. No, when it comes to doing the fundraising and stuff, it's just important to share your story. Some people get nervous about asking their friends or family. But so many people, when they hear stories, immediately say, how can I help? And doing the Miles for MMN, doing some sharing your story through Awareness Month and just saying, hey, a great way to make a difference is to donate to this research grant. The hardest thing is just asking, but people want to help and want to help you make a difference for both you and then future patients as well.
Yeah, and I don't think you have, it can also be intimidating in some respects. When you see, let's face it, when you see mad people like me going, oh, okay, I'm going to have a crack at what was I trying to do last year? Ride 1,000 kilometers in the month of February, or ride was it 320 kilometers in a day on the year before.
Yep,
And that can be quite intimidating because but actually it genuinely doesn't matter. It's what, if your challenge, quite frankly, I mean, we saw this in the UK in the COVID thing, when there was a 90-odd-year-old veteran who raised money for the NHS, walking around his garden and raised millions. It's what is a challenge to you. It doesn't matter. Nobody is going to think, if your challenge, quite frankly, and I've, is getting up and walking to the front of your garden and back because unaided, because normally you have to use some sort of walker or something, whatever it is, whether it's having signed up for chair yoga, you're going to do chair yoga every day for the month. It doesn't matter. Because quite frankly, I mean, I went, we all have things we're strong at and we all have things we're weak at. And we went kayaking last week. Turns out my left hand, because of the weakness and the lack of mobility, let's just say I was the weaker of the two people in the double kayak by a long way. And so I might, if I signed up, the comment from my wife Anne was, well, you won't be trying to row across the Atlantic as your next challenge, will you? Because no, no, although that always does make you think, but no. So it's what's challenging to you. It's what's easy for you in some instances. What works for you is what counts.
Yeah.
And I think that,
and share those.
Sorry, go on, Maddy.
I'm just saying, share those, goals with us. Because, that's something that we love to track and keep progress of. And then at the foundation, you have, 20 something cheerleaders, all hoping that, you achieve your goal. So.
Yeah. And then, and I'll make a shameless plug as well for the fact that, come September is the biannual symposium happening in Denver, Colorado, if I've got my places correct. And, that again is a great chance to meet people. And so if you're new to the community, whatever you're doing, you'll be welcomed with open arms, and that then provides an in-person opportunity to meet people with MMN, CIDP, GBS. So yeah, as you said, this is your potentially your gateway drug into a whole amazing community. Yeah,
I think I just said gateway, not drug.
Hey?
I think I just said gateway. I don't think I said drug.
No, you didn't. I added the drug bit. That's all right. So, senior, what is it? Senior executive in major charity says we're a gateway drug. No, that wouldn't.
No, that's not me.
Nope.
That doesn't pass the marketing test, does it, Meg?
No,
it does not. That's a fail.
But everybody out there can see that or hear that the team don't take themselves too, they do an amazing job, but don't take themselves too seriously as well. So, and I think we all need to laugh. I think laughter for MMN should be a challenge.
I love that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It can count for miles for MMN.
Yeah, log those laughs.
I love it.
Exactly.
I love that.
It comes up, but it's there's a lot of talk about well-being and health and well-being and stuff, but there's a lot to be said for laughing as a medicine. It's not a new thing.
Yeah.
A bit of laughter, a bit of exercise,
coffee chat.
Bit of connecting with people, that it all goes a long way, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Probably sounds like a positive place to finish. So
yeah, thank you so much.
Thank everybody for your time. Been amazing to chat. And I will feverishly, before my post IVIG slump hits, which will be within the next hour or two probably, I'll feverishly get this well, there won't be any editing of the main content, but I'll get it into the platform, and I'll aim to push it out on the 1st, so it's there and
Great.
good to go. And then you can market the living daylights out of it, Meg.
We will.
Awesome, wonderful, thank you, and
Thank you so
speak to
much.
you soon.
So much, Clive.